Emma held on tightly as the coach rattled down the road. As they approached the village, her heart was thumping wildly. Would they like her? Would they offer her the job? What would it be like to live in this village, away from home? Emma put on her most dignified expression and stepped out to meet the school trustees. You are Miss Emma Wilcox? Emma nodded, but kept her face very straight. I'm Mr. Carter, and this is Mr. Oates and Mr. Gordon. We sure are pleased to see you. The school's ready now, just waiting for a teacher. The trustees looked at Emma's certificate. I'm 17 now, and used to handling young ones. My mother has 6 after me. Mr. Gordon asked, do you think now that a little thing like you can keep order? Emma looked grim. I'll keep order, with a strap if I have to. Mr. Gordon nodded. She'll do, she'll do. Mr. Carter asked if Emma could teach geography. Oh, yes, sir, said Emma. If you can get wall maps and an atlas, I can teach geography. Mr. Oates snorted. Geography was a bit of nonsense. Reading, writing, and figuring was all that was needed. But yes, she'll do. Then that's settled, said Mr. Carter. You can start boarding with us. Come next month. Emma thanked the school trustees solemnly, but as she skipped down the road, she finally allowed herself a smile. She really was going to be a teacher. Mother, they hired me. I'm going to be the new school teacher, starting next month. Good morning, scholars. Please take your seats, younger ones to the front. Emma stood straight, and there was no smile.
Good morning, Miss Wilcox.
Most of the students were young, but 2 or 3 looked almost as old as Emma herself. One, a tall, red-headed fellow named Fred, she knew meant trouble. Emma put simple sums on the blackboard. With a severe face, she moved around as the students did the sums on their slates.
Carry, trench.
In the afternoon, Emma had each student come forward and read, so she could put them in the right book of lessons. The next day, she started to teach the younger ones their numbers, while the older students recited their spelling lessons. She kept a wary eye on the back of the classroom. If anyone looked out of the window or spoke to a neighbor, her voice rang out like the crack of a whip. She showed the students how to sew copybooks using paper and string they'd bought from home. As she had suspected, Fred proved to be a real troublemaker. Emma soon found out that despite his size, he didn't know how to read, and he was furious when he was put in the first book with the little ones. He whispered loudly, "She's so small. She's only half a teacher and not much good for anything." Quick as a flash, Emma whirled and snatched the strap from her desk. "Put out your hand, Fred. I may be small, but I'm strong." Surprised, Fred put out his hand, and Emma used the strap with all her might. Fred ran out and plunged his hand in the rain barrel. Everyone suddenly was very intent on their lessons. Meg and Sam Carter talked about their boarder. "She's so smiley at home," said Meg, "but did you see how hard she hit Fred?" "Yes," agreed Sam, "and she never smiled all day long." As the days went by, the classroom settled into a routine. While Emma taught the younger ones to read, one by one, the others read from their reader, recited a poem, or their spelling lessons, all out loud. The classroom was very noisy, but Emma knew who was working. In geography, they learnt the names of the continents, rivers and oceans, bays and lakes, all memory work, as Emma herself had been taught. Emma welcomed the lunch period as a time to catch her breath. but far too often she was bothered by the boys fighting or teasing the girls. Some noontime activities were needed. For the girls, she organized calisthenics and some gentle games like beanbag throwing, things to keep them active but still ladylike. She had races and ball games and King of the Castle for the boys. When she got her first pay, she went to the general store and bought a bat. Sam asked, a little fearfully, if she was going to hit Fred with that. "No, silly. We're all going to learn a new game. Baseball." She let Fred and his friend captain the teams and cheered them on, not a bit like the stern Miss Wilcox she was in the classroom. The races and games caused considerable talk in the village. Many felt it wasn't at all suitable, particularly for the girls, to have such things going on in the schoolyard. Finally, there was so much fuss that the trustees asked to meet with Emma. When challenged by the trustees, she was polite but firm. "Sirs, after sitting all morning, the students need to run and play. I'm here to see that there's no rowdiness, and I feel no harm can come to young ladies through regular exercise." So persuasive was Emma that the games were allowed to go on. Many other things went on at the school, too. The ladies formed a guild to raise money for an addition to the small church. Visiting lecturers now came to the village, and the Agricultural Society had a place to meet. The school was used for musical evenings to raise money for the unfortunate poor or for foreign missions. But the big event of the year was the Christmas concert. Halloween over, everybody hurried through their chores after school so they could make the decorations. Everyone helped and everyone had a part. While they were working, they practiced their carols or recited a poem. The storekeeper gave them sheets of brown paper for a backdrop, and they drew the stable in Bethlehem for the nativity pageant. They made costumes from towels and nightshirts and old cloaks, and hung up old quilts as curtains. There were carols, recitations. Finally, the nativity scene, the star, the shepherds, and the 3 wise men coming with their gifts. Then a quilt was pulled aside, and there was a real baby in the manger. Fred, tall and serious, was Joseph, and Jean Carter was Mary. It was a success. The parents approved. As Emma shook hands and said good night, she allowed herself a smile. For surely now she was a teacher.